Hi, this is your host Abdul Bhartia and welcome to TFR Let's Talk. Today we have with us Patrick Dillon, CRO at Airlock Digital. Patrick, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's my pleasure. Let's quickly do a quick intro. Tell us a bit about what is Airlock Digital all about? What do you folks do?
Sure. So Airlock Digital has kind of revolutionized application control, or what has traditionally been known as application whitelisting. So what we do is we provide a deny by default type technology solution for customers. So they're only running applications and files that are known and trusted, and everything else is automatically blocked by default.
Can you just also explain for those who may not be aware of the term, what is application control?
Sure. Application control, it means a few different things to different folks, but in our case, what we really focus on is either allowing or preventing executables on the endpoints. So Windows, Linux, Mac endpoints, anything that users are going to use, servers. What we really do is create for organizations an allow list, so applications that are allowed to run. And then on the other side, we also have a block list, so applications that are never allowed to run. And so when organizations create this, it really provides the ultimate level of security because they're not allowing in just anything that is unknown or untrusted. So organizations are able to really create almost kind of like their own playlist of applications within an organization. So they're only running what they have pre-approved and everything else is denied by default, including malware, ransomware, or any other applications that they don't want running within an organization.
Does application control only limit, what applications are allowed to run, or it also covers that what kind of access an application should have, or it's a totally different field?
Yeah, so what we do at Airlock is we actually allow folks to have certain access as well. So if you think about, kind of application control at a very holistic level, it's really about running or not running. But what we've been able to do and how we've kind of revolutionized application control is that we're able to do this at a very granular level. We're able to do this at speed and at scale. So we can also allow only certain departments or teams or individuals to have access to run those applications within their endpoints. So it is kind of one of access as well as stopping executables.
And what does it mean that when we look at Airlock, that is go beyond just application control, or then we also jump into the whole IAM or access control market as well?
Yeah, we're not really jumping into that. It certainly has some positive benefits of stopping executables kind of on that endpoint. But what we do is ours is kind of security with simplicity as well. Because what we do is very different than traditional application whitelisting. If you look at traditional application control or application whitelisting, it was very rigid. It caused a slowdown in the business. It would cause applications to break. It would cause disruption within the teams. And so a lot of organizations that started doing and using some of those older legacy tools just frankly got frustrated with it. And that's kind of how Airlock Digital came to be, is that our co-founders were practitioners. They were sitting in those same seats and they were actually trying to get those legacy tools to be able to run in their environments. And because they couldn't, because it was so frustrating for them, they also were trying to figure out a new way to slice bread, so to speak. So they knew that the power of stopping something from running on an endpoint was really the best model for security. Scanning, detecting, access, they certainly have their parts within the security infrastructure, but even they only go so far. In order to get something to run on an endpoint, it has to be able to execute. So blocking that executable is really the highest standard for security. And they went around to not only kind of help with that, but revolutionize that business process problem, because legacy tools really slowed down the adoption of application control and application whitelisting. And they wanted to make sure that this powerful tool was easy to use for organizations. They could put it on every endpoint, Windows, Linux, and Mac, including some of those older legacy tools like Windows XP or Server 2003. And organizations could still operate at speed, but have those controls in place to where they're only running what was pre-approved and trusted, and not really running having people run anything on those endpoints, or worse, having the attackers be able to get in and bring their tools, and bring malware and ransomware into the environment to be able to take over, within a breach.
Excellent, thank you. And when we're talking about these endpoints, whether, as you rightly said, whether it doesn't really matter which platform it is, BSD, Linux, Mac, depend. And when we go to Edge, we start looking at a lot of other use cases also. These days, of course, hybrid workforce has become. I mean, things may change, but after COVID, folks, they started either you bring your own device or you bring your work device to home. What kind of challenges it posed when it comes to application control, and how Airlock Digital enabled security teams, CISOs, to have a very holistic organization-wide not only visibility but control over device. It doesn't really matter what kind of device folks are running.
Yeah, so really, COVID certainly changed, security and really, everything regarding, kind of IT and how we operate. No longer were everybody just in brick and mortar locations. Remote work became, essential. And so, making sure that organizations were still protected, even though their employees were no longer sitting, protected by traditional firewalls or, VPNs, those types of things. You needed a better way to be able to protect your corporate assets. And so with application control, what you're allowing, end users to be able to do is to be able to continue their jobs at speed, regardless of where they're connecting in from. Because the hackers can't do anything on those endpoints. They can't be able to get in and execute those negative payloads that are the beginnings of a breach. So as far as we're concerned, we're kind of mission critical for organizations to be able to operate globally at speed, regardless of where their users are connecting in from.
What kind of industries? Is it like regulated industries? Or is it like for every industry that they leverage application control?
Sure, it's really being seen more and more common within all industries. Certainly, heavily regulated industries like banking, healthcare are certainly huge. We work with Fortune, or global, 15 banks in the world are some of our largest customers. Manufacturing is a very big area just because of the OT environments, their operational technology environments that are critical, that a lot of traditional or more modern tools don't really protect or sit on. So you've got some EDR tools that can't protect Windows XP or some of those older legacy manufacturing devices, but they still need to be protected. So we're seeing a big uptick in those areas, and all manufacturing, whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's heavy equipment, any of those types are really kind of we're seeing a spike in adoption with application control. But you see it in other areas as well. The public sector, whether it's governments or school systems. If from school systems. The first day of K-12, when students get new laptops and they start to try to download all their games and everything else, people want to be able to control those things. So it's not just one industry that's really focused on that. We're seeing an ever-growing adoption because a lot of times traditional security tools just have not been able to stop malware and ransomware from executing. And at the end of the day, what are all cybersecurity companies trying to do? They're trying to protect their customers, and they're trying to do that by stopping malware and ransomware. And we do that better than anyone else out there in the marketplace today.
And when we are talking about some of these regulated industry, can you also talk about how you folks help businesses, to with compliance requirement, whether it's PCI DSS, HIPAA, NIST,
Sure.
and of course we can look at U.S. market. We can also look at Europe, which is even more heavily regulated.
Yeah, for sure. So we're actually headquartered in Australia, and so Australia has a data security standard called the Essential 8. And that's kind of how we grew up. So we're engineered to really meet the highest level of standards. And in fact, the number one requirement for the Essential 8 is application control. And there's different maturity levels. You start at maturity level 0, and it goes all the way up to level 3. And so we satisfy the highest requirements, for that. And you're seeing more and more standards, kind of switch. PCI, the new 4.0 switch from kind of antivirus to anti-malware. You're seeing NIST now switch from either having kind of a block list or an allow list to only allow list. So, the new requirements, I think it's section 3 or something like that talks about authorized software. And it's, you can only run what is pre-approved, and anything else has to be allowed by exception, policy. So it's kind of that deny all or deny by default. You mentioned Europe for sure. Whether you see, GDPR or the new DORA regulation that's getting ready to hit financial services in January, I think it's really about controlling what is running in your environments, understanding what is running in your environments, being able to respond and be able to lock down critical assets and critical infrastructures. So having this deny by default technology really allows folks to not only check the box around security, but really provide a more robust and more mature security model than traditional or legacy security tools have done in the past.
Let's also talk about the current geopolitical scenario. Of course, some wars are going on. Conflicts are also kind of increasing. Countries are also looking at data sovereignty, and of course, they, as you mentioned, Europe, other countries, they have their own regulation, which might sometimes conflict with each other. How you're seeing this whole area evolving, and how, once again, Airlock Digital enables organizations, irrespective of where they are based, to not only comply with local laws, but at the same time be able to serve global audience.
So certainly, being, the U.S. being one of the Five Eyes countries, we share a lot of data security, best practices and security best practices kind of across the board. Within Australia, we kind of serve all levels of both, federal and local government, including civilian and DoD. We protect those environments, because really, I think what you're seeing now is hacks continue to perpetrate regardless of newer technologies, kind of coming out. Because traditional security products, they typically do one of two things. They're either around access, or they're around scanning, detecting, and responding. And those have kind of proven, unreliable. And as geopolitical threats increase, you've got certain rogue countries out there that want to hack into other organizations and other nation states and be able to once again, be able to execute malware, be able to steal state secrets, or be able to just do general harm within those environments and within those countries. And kind of what we do is once again we allow only what is known and trusted to run. And we, block everything else by default. So it becomes, once again, a more mature security model for having us on those endpoints, because we're not allowing the attackers, whether they're geopolitical or just, geopolitical nation state attackers, or just rogue individual attackers, kind of those cybersecurity gangs that are out there trying to extract value out of their hacks versus causing general chaos. We just don't allow them to be able to bring their tools into our customers' environments and get them to execute. So it's just, once again, a more mature security model by having us on their endpoints.
When it comes to security now, things have changed in a couple of years, especially with the whole popularity of cloud and cloud native, where security is no longer an afterthought, it's no longer someone else's problem. But a lot of innovation is also happening in this space, which sometimes put teams at odds with each other, whether they should continue to move faster or they should remain kind of safe and secure. Things are even difficult in some of these heavily regulated industries, and sometimes these industries, they have like financial or healthcare, they have been around for so long, and they were the early adopter of some of these technologies, but they cannot move as fast as a lot of other organizations would. How do you enable them to not only continue to dip their toes in the new technologies without compromising on security and compliance?
We certainly were built to allow organizations to operate at speed. And that's really kind of the business process problem that our co-founders were trying to solve when they came up with the whole concept of Airlock Digital. Businesses don't want to have to slow down in order to implement, new technologies, new tools. If you think of, banks and the trading desks, milliseconds mean millions and billions of dollars. Within healthcare, you've got organizations that literally, are life and death to make sure that those technologies operate efficiently, every single time. And so they can't really worry about, the bad guys being able to get in and cause chaos, through a breach or through some sort of, hack. And so what we do is we just allow organizations, once again, to define clearly what they want versus what they, and everything else is automatically denied by default. So a healthcare organization can create separate allow lists versus a bank versus a government entity. And they get to be able to do that. And so, we allow them to have that power. And it's a tool that's, very configurable. You can put, create certain policy groups for different teams, different users, different locations. So the power that we provide our customers and the simplicity that we're able to do this and the scale that we're able to do this is really kind of what our customers really like, because after they've got our tool in enforcement, they bring in third-party, red teams and third-party, penetration testing teams to be able to try to, hack into their environments, and they just can't do it. So we're very happy to be able to partner with our customers just to be able to have them provide a more secure environment for their end customers as well, whether it's banking customers or healthcare customers or any of the other industries the like.
One last question before we wrap this up is also that we are looking at a lot of emerging use cases. Of course, some of these use cases are not right now in regulated form. They are not compliance for that AI, Gen AI. A lot of discussions are happening. EVs are there. I mean, edge is becoming, and we're not talking about the old edge. We are talking about new edge, endpoints. How are you looking at these new use cases, or you feel that no, our target audience is these, heavily regulated industries, and those use cases are not in our radar at this point?
I think all industries really benefit from this. So, whether they're emerging or, traditional heavily regulated industries, because everyone is susceptible to ransomware, to malware attacks. And so if you're looking to provide, kind of the most robust type of security on your endpoints, then implementing, application control is paramount for these organizations. You're going to see, new AI-driven attacks. And so how are you going to be able to prevent, those with older legacy tools that are scanning and detecting, for behaviors or signatures? You've got to be able to explicitly allow or explicitly deny, applications and files to run, and you've got to be able to do that at speed. And so that's really kind of what we provide organizations to be able to do is regardless of the industry, regardless of the vertical that they're in, we just allow them to provide, or we provide them rather, a more mature security model that just allows them to be able to only run what is known and trusted, and everything else is blocked by default.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining me today. Talk about, of course, Airlock Digital and the whole, application control landscape. Thanks for great insights, and I would love to have you folks back on the show. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much for having us.